Alrighty, hey everyone! Thanks so much for tuning in. And look, I am stoked to be joined with Naz. I can never get your name right, my friend, but I'm. Hey, thanks so much for hanging out. And I think we have a whole lot of stuff planned that you'd love to showcase all around Sigma. Is that right? Which I'm so excited about. But I'll let you take the floor. Take it away.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, it's Nas. The correct pronunciation is a little bit hard, but let's stick with the rapper version. So
Gotcha.
yeah, hi everyone. So my name is Nas. Like I'm a security researcher. I try to do detection engineering, but as many people try to tell me, I'm not that good at it. So I currently maintain one of the maintainer of the Sigma project, and I'll be talking about that. I also maintain or try to maintain the one of the load drivers. Like all the cool projects that Mike has, I basically stick myself up to them and yeah, try to be maintainer for those as
That's
well.
awesome.
All right, so for anyone who isn't familiar with Sigma, basically, I'll bring up the famous or the infamous graph, I would say. Yeah, so basically Sigma was created in 2017 and it's like a format to describe your signatures. So I believe everyone saw John's video a couple of weeks ago about Yara. It's the same thing, but with for logs. So basically you write something in that Sigma format that we're gonna explain, and then you'll pass it to something that we call the Sigma converter. And it basically converts all of those logs or detections into a digestible thing by your CM. So in every enterprise, you'll get like a CM, they write detection, whatever. The original idea behind Sigma was mainly that many people write detection in different query languages. So it would have been cool to write it like in a single format and be able to distribute it to everyone else. So yeah, that's basically the gist of it. And when we talk about Sigma, like usually people think of the Sigma HU and Sigma main repository, which is this one. And it has all of those juicy detection rules that some of the people like, most dislike apparently. Let's not joke around, but like basically Sigma is the main detection repository for rules. And when you write those rules, you need to convert them. And that's where PySigma comes in basically. So the main Sigma like project is like split into two, as we can say. So there is the Sigma main repository, which contains all the rules. And we have this new thing that was released like a couple of years ago, which is the newest version of this converter, which is PySigma. Basically, it's a library that allows us to convert those rules into digestible things by our CM. If we look at like a simple architecture, it might seem scary, but it's actually is. No, but like you take your Sigma rule basically and you pass it to something called PySigma. And there are some cool things like transformations, backhands, whatever. By the way, we'll be releasing blogs on the Sigma Medium page that explains all of this shenanigans. But the gist of it is you write something in YAML, it converts, your CM can use it, and everyone else on Earth can use that as well.
Super cool.
So, yeah. Yeah, that's basically the general gist of it. I don't know if you want to take it from here
No,
or you
so
want to like.
I'd
Yeah.
love to add a little bit of color if I may, because like, look, I work over at one of the cybersecurity providers or a huntress, right? Is my day job, and we do a hefty amount of detection engineering and threat hunting and a lot of that great blue team defense security work. And we use Sigma, like undoubtedly 1,000%. I think a lot of time, hey, we're either pouring stuff into Elk or hey, Elastic, right? And maybe OpenSearch might be up on the horizon, but it's been so great because look, Sigma can kind of help boil and bring things down so that look, any of the events that we're getting, we can at least cut through it and carve through it with all those solutions. And we're still using PySigma to like do those manipulations as we need to, and maybe tweak in just a little bit of extra logic too, because hey, we received it from one bucket from one specific signal, and Sigma at it's still at the core of that. So I think it's crazy cool, and I love hearing about all the use cases for it. And look, I can attest, it's so good that we use it all the time, every day, to process the like 2 million endpoints that we're working with and the like billions of entries and logs and artifacts that come from each of those. So just a testament, but I'll let you keep rolling.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Cool. That's great to hear, actually. So basically, so I guess we'll talk a little bit about the syntax, which is quite useful for this little trick that we're going to do later, which is practically what I'm trying to do here is like talk about the syntax a little bit, and then we're going to write a very short rule just to showcase what Sigma can do in reality. And then we'll use like, basically you can use any tool that ingests Sigma. In this specific case, I'll use Aurora because I'm familiar with it. But yeah, so let me grab just a simple example from the rule repository. All right, so as you can see, we have like there exists many rules basically. So you can have rules for Windows, for web, for network, any types of log that you can imagine. Even if your web application firewall has a certain type of log that you can ingest and you want to write rules for, you can basically do that as well. I'll grab any like process creation rule and let's see, any random one will do. All right, cool.
And I will keep driving home the point, like, this is free. Like, Sigma's on GitHub and totally accessible, and anyone can jump in. It's completely free. And Aurora, I know you mentioned, that is, at least Aurora Lite is, hey, some EDR software and tooling that, look, is, again, completely free, Aurora Lite. So, like, if folks want to kick the tires and dig into this, like, please, you're welcome to play.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And yeah, we talk about more about Aurora and how you can use Sigma basically to do a lot of cool things. So you can see my rule, right?
Yep, looking good.
All right. So basically the gist of the syntax is as follow. Like you have a metadata section, which is at the top.
Are you inside of a text editor? I might be still looking at the GitHub user content Firefox.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, we'll get it from the browser, no worries. So basically there is this metadata section, which is a very non-trivial section, but like it contains what we talk about, like the title of the rule, the detection of the rule. Like when you write a detection rule, usually you'll have an intention behind it. You want to detect for somebody like drops PowerShell or like executes something or loads a driver. So the metadata section is basically a section that describes what your rule is going to detect and any references that might help the author. And then the meat and the gist of it is basically the detection section, which it's pretty straightforward. So let me grab this and move to the editor. So it will be much more colorful.
I don't know if you're only sharing your browser, but I haven't been able to quite see the text editor just yet.
Yeah, 1 second.
There we go, perfect.
All right, cool. Showing up?
Yep, gotcha.
Awesome. All right, so basically the title is the title of the rule, which is required. You can say PowerShell execution, for example. An idea is basically a UUID that you can generate. And you can see, by the way, for anyone using Sigma on the wild and trying to write stuff, you'll see that I have like an autocomplete feature that generates ID, titles, whatever. That's basically an extension that we ship, which is a VS Code extension for Sigma. It lets you fill up all of the most necessary fields, and it tells you, like, it complains. You see that it's highlighted in orange or in yellow, that here you're missing an ID, which basically a required field. So if you're using Sigma, I think, and VS Code, of course, it's basically a cool thing. So basically, when you provide an idea, the status, it doesn't really matter. These are all just metadata. The status indicates the stability of the rule. So for example, you're cooking up like an interesting detection, but you don't know if it's stable enough or might generate false positive. So perhaps you provide like it's an experimental state, or is it test, or is it stable? Or maybe it's an old detection, so it's deprecated. And yeah, all of these statuses are described in a repo that we're going to talk about later. But basically, this is like an experimental. You say something like detects PowerShell execution. Suspicious, let's say. All right. You'll pull out a random reference. It doesn't matter. You'll slap your author to be cool. Doesn't matter. All right. So the most important thing actually in a Sigma rule, or one of the most important thing, is the log source. So when many people write Sigma rules, they basically, most of them write them for Windows, but you can actually write them for any OS or any software, as we've spoken about. So the product basically is the product that you want to write it for. In this specific case is Windows, but you can slap Linux, you can say, hey, Mac OS, and all of these are listed in the Sigma repository, like the possible list of products and categories that are like supported. But if you use it locally, like, or use it custom in a custom environment, such as at Huntress, you can add as many products as you like. And basically the category says, like, what type of logs are we trying to detect? Is it process creation? Is it network connections? Like, if you know anything about Windows, you know that a process might spawn and it creates a thread. It loads a DLL. It does a lot of shenanigans that you might want to be interested in. So you say, hey, I want to detect like process creation. But as always, the list, like for the categories that are available or what's supported by default, is listed on the GitHub page. Maybe you can link to it, or yeah.
Totally, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and the detection section is basically your logic. So there is no limitation basically. So you could create a very bad detection, or you can create a very robust detection. But like in general, what you try to do is you say, like, there is an image field. Let me actually grab like a actual log.
Totally.
All right, one moment. Where is it? Yeah, so as I was saying, like, basically, you can grab any log from Windows or any custom application that you might have and use that, which is quite useful. All right, so where is the process creation log, our favorite log?
Are you pulling that from Sysmon, you said?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah. All right, I'll grab this from Sysmon. Okay, so yeah, you can see the log basically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is like a log from Sysmon that you install, and it has like some fields, command line, current directory, user, whatever. All of these fields technically are part of the log. So they are accessible by Sigma. So let's say you want to detect an image, which is basically the process. In this case, it's conhost, but let's say you want to capture PowerShell. You say image is PowerShell. And that's basically it.
Easy peasy.
Like, yeah, that's basically it. And then you saw that I named this selection, and this actually is like a, how do you say? And like a function definition. Like, you say this selection contains like an image, and you might add, I don't know, let's say you want to detect like a command line. You say, hey, I want to detect like a command line, and the command line is IEX, for example, invoke expression. So basically this selection contains, like, it says, hey, but I want to detect something on Windows, which is a process creation event. I want to detect anything named image PowerShell, and the command line is invoke expression. And in the condition, you just use like a, similar to Yara, you say one of, or all of. It's very similar. So in this example, it's just a single thing. You can say selection. But let's say you have many more selection, like selection 2 and selection 1. So you can say one of selection.
Neat.
Or if you want, yeah, if you want to combine them, you say all of selection. And yeah, that's basically the gist of it. And you can see, like, in a real world environment, that would create, for example, a lot of false positives. Or like you say, hey, PowerShell in our environment, like PowerShell is spawned often, and this is very dangerous. But hey, you as the role author, you did like quite a bit of research, and you might find out, hey, PowerShell is quite often spawned. Let's leave a message for the users. And that you say likely. Okay, or like often. You say often, this happened, whatever. Or if you don't know, you basically say unknown.
Easy.
Yeah, that's practically what Sigma is. And like the intricacies of the Sigma rule, we can, let me just go back to the browser and grab like somewhat a complex rule. Let's do this. All right.
And this is what
Like
I
direct
am
IPs.
most looking forward to, if I may, because I think, hey, the
Yeah.
syntax and like the concept for Sigma is pretty easy to buy into, but like the awesome things you can do with it, either at scale or just in practice of like kicking around, hey, trying to see what different things might do if you're doing your own tests and checking with detection engineering, that I haven't quite figured out, and I'm sure a whole lot of folks have questions on. So I'll let you keep cruising, but I think that's what I'm most interested in is like, cool, now that we built this rule, how can I see it in action?
Yeah. So the rule that we built is quite literally trivial,
Right.
but in a real life situation, you might do a little bit more research. So you might want to use like something like the differ report. Okay. Yeah, like this is an interesting report. You might be cruising around it and say, hey, this is some cool findings, and say, oh, wait a second, this is actually a log. You may say, okay, what is this log? And you say, hey, this is Microsoft Windows VHDMP operational. Okay, that's interesting. Then you might want to search around it and then build a rule around it. So a little like a bit more complex. So for example, we know that threat actors love to use like load bins. And one of the cool load bins is curl. So one cool trick that threat actors love to do sometimes is to download from direct IPs suspicious like files or scripts. So you might want to say, hey, I want to detect curl, but let's say that the actual command line that curl is using is actually a direct IP and not a domain. So you might want to look up like what is a regular expression, and you can see some like cool things like this. We didn't talk about it, but this pipe and RE and this pipe and contains, and basically you write this cool thing and then you want to test it in real life. All right. So one of the things that you can use to do that is Aurora. All right, you can go to Aurora Lite and say, hey, blah, 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 download this. And basically similar to, for example, say Hayabusa, which is a Sigma like based agent. Like anything you have to ingest Sigma, or even you want to use it in real life, you can use those. The most common approach before talking about Aurora is you have a CM. Okay, you've read the report, you have a CM, you pick this rule, you just grab it, and you use like the converter that we talked about, which is Pi Sigma. All right, you might want to download it, but that's tedious. So you go and grab what the cool kids are using, which is SigConvert.
Ooh.
So this cool website created by a couple of folks, Mike and the gang, basically what it does is a wrapper around Pi Sigma. So in a real life environment, you might want to use it in like in your CM or whatever. You grab the rule, you paste it, and then you select your target. So you might or you might not see your target, but that's fine. You can always build your custom target, or you can ask us or ask any company that do that. But basically, you select your target. So let's say you use Splunk CM. Okay, that's fine. This is some like shenanigans that Pi Sigma requires. It doesn't matter. We use the default. And as you can see, it happens live. Now we have this rule converted into an actual CM query that Splunk might use.
That's
without
awesome.
even doing anything. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. That's basically the awesome part. And let's say you have, I don't know, you might be an MDR. You might have like a Splunk or an Elastic. So let's say, hey, let's convert this to Elastic, and voila, it is converted automatically to Elastic. So this is like the true power of Sigma, which is one random person on the internet can write a rule, share it, and everyone would benefit from it.
Super cool.
All right. Yeah. It's pretty awesome. Okay, so basically you can also test it locally. Like say you're doing some research or you're doing some, I don't know, some cool stuff. what you actually might want to do, let's say you'll go back to this, and you might find on the Sigma project like a rule called who am I, which is a very stupid rule, or I say a basic rule, I would say. Like, who am I? As we've seen in the differ report many times, threat actors love to use it. Your administrator would also sometimes love to use it, but let's say you want to detect this. You want to detect who am I usage. You might use like a tool like Aurora. So you go and basically, let me share my screen, go to Windows. Okay. So you download Aurora, and then you might install it like this. Once you install it, basically what it does is it uses all those cool rules that we've just seen, the thousands and thousands of rules, and it actually loads them and it do like live detection on them. So basically you want to test like a cool feature that the threat actor use, like, I don't know, executing who am I. You execute your who am I, it's fine. But then you go back to Aurora, and then we have like a cool dashboard.
Ooh.
And you can see, here is the event.
Nice.
Yeah. So basically you can see like the rule that triggered and everything around it. And here is like the rule, blah, 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 favorite fields, whatever. And this rule was practically like provided from the public repo. So, and that's the general gist of the Sigma shenanigans.
May I ask, just because I have always, in an ideal world, kind of pie in the sky, wanted something to do that, like, basically local testing in real time as fast as humanly possible for detection engineering with Sigma, just because I think it would help create so much cool videos or educational content. Can Aurora do the like little pop-up notification, like a balloon message that says, hey, we detected this, like the instant you run Who Am I? Or
Yeah.
how quick can you get? And I don't know if that's something you can pull out of the hat here, but I love that. And I think it would be so, so perfect for actually getting more detection engineering content out.
Yeah, definitely. I basically disabled notification, but here it is. Can you see my full screen? I hope.
I
But
think so. Yes. Yeah.
yeah, no reason. But for example, here it is. I click who am I? And you'll see. Yeah, like a live with a description. And let's say there is another rule, which is like if you use a more advanced version of who am I don't know, which is more suspicious.
Right. Who am
Say,
I?
hey,
All
who am I
priv. Blah blah
all?
blah.
Exactly. And
Perfect.
that's basically it. You can use it in live research, as you said, which is the very cool part, like prototyping and building cool videos and cool ideas.
Because I know everyone tuning in and listening might have a seam. Maybe you're rocking in the corporate business space where you've got Splunk or you've got this giant bells and whistles, however many thousands of dollars corporate infrastructure. But I also know that there are a whole lot of folks that are just really trying to get into this industry, still wanting to learn and get sharp on this stuff. And the blue team work is so cool and enticing, but getting a chance to play with it, and even just in a simple local way like this, is really incredible, I think, for learning. Because look, if you can keep refining, keep tweaking, keep tuning your rules, and then just let it rip like that, I think that's awesome. So thank you so much.
Yeah, sure, no worries. Thank you for having me. And this is a great opportunity. I think it's really cool that like Sigma is used in the real world environment, but I think it's really cool for people to prototype detections and build like an idea, because it's really, how do you say, tricky. A lot of people think that you need like to spend a lot of money to at least understand the concept of detection engineering, or spend like do a lot of training on Windows internals or whatever. But just grabbing a random report from the differ report, for example, going through it and using tools like Hayabusa or Aurora, you can start to build detections and start to understand the logic behind it. Yeah, I think that's very cool.
Oh, absolutely. And like, look, you can do it and play with it all on your own, and cruise through. So fantastic stuff, guys. Again, I'm a huge fanboy. I absolutely love all the great work that you all are up to, and the plethora of Yara rules and Sigma rules, and the fact that it's just free and open and accessible, and like anyone can jump in. That is the best.
Yeah, definitely, man. Cheers.
Anything else, my friend? Or hey, do you think that's the showcase? Any other resources, any other sweet stuff that maybe folks can learn a little bit
Uh,
more?
a little bit more about it, you can probably grab, you can go learn a little bit about Sigma here with this like repository, Sigma resources, that has some collection of stuff that you can use to get started in Sigma. You can check out basically the Sigma repository here, Sigma HQ, which contains by Sigma the specifications. For example, a cool thing that you want to check out is like the taxonomy, which we talked about. Say you want to learn, hey, what is this log source? What is product windows? What is clipboard? Hey, oh, clipboard is mapping to this sysmon event, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so these are some cool resources. And as we've said, SIG converter might help you convert your rules directly to the CM that you want to choose. Yeah, and you might want to follow up like on the Medium blog, which is where it is.
I think just before Sigma Converter, the middle of your screen, maybe.
Here it is. Yeah. If you want to keep up with the things that we're going to do in the next few weeks and months, like for example, we're going to be releasing like a dedicated Sigma website and a lot of cool tutorials, especially for like beginner friendly tutorial on how to write Sigma rules, how to build maybe a backend if you have like a custom CM or custom query. Yeah, those are all coming in the next few weeks.
Oh,
so tune in
I
on
can't
the
wait.
Medium page. Yeah.
And I'm happy to help kind of spread the word and hey, get some of that info and knowledge out there. But thank you again and again, Nas. This has been awesome and a great,
Yeah.
hey, dipping your toes in the water for a lot of the phenomenal blue team and defense work that we so desperately need. So,
Same, man. Cheers. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.